Are you a hardcore flashlight enthusiast? When shopping for your EDC flashlight, do you want a large battery, perfect beam and color, and an expert level UI? Then look no further, because Fireflies Lite is what you're looking for. Welcome back to Shul Lights. Fireflies Lite has been a major player in the enthusiast community for many years. And Jack over at Fireflies Lite is concerned with making the best quality flashlights available for the enthusiast. That means that he handpicks emitter types and binning to make sure that the beam shape, the tint, and color pass muster for the hardcore enthusiast. You're not going to find any ugly green beams with a Fireflies flashlight. Today we're going to look at the Fireflies Lite's current lineup, which is the E07X Cannon. There's 3 of them right here. Then we're going to also take a look at the X1S Pharos, which is a very throwy model of this light. And then lastly, we'll look at the NOV-Mu V2, which is an excellent Mule flashlight. All 3 of these flashlights run on the same sized battery and have basically the same features. The difference is their optic. So on the E07X, you have 7 individual emitters with individual TIR optics producing a fairly floody beam. I say fairly because it's still quite throwy. Then with the X1S Pharos, you have a single emitter with a large TIR optic producing an excellently concentrated high candela beam. And lastly, the NOV-Mu Mule V2 is a Mule light which has no optic at all. Let me get right in there. And you can see that there's a series of 21 separate E21A emitters in here. All right, let's do a size comparison, because these are 21700 batteries. They're pretty large, but here's the thing. You know, you want the 21700 for the power because it has very high drain, higher drain usually than even an 18650, and it's got 5000 milliamp hour on average versus the 3000 you'd get on an 18650. So it turns out that the 21700 is definitely a better battery, but it usually pushes the host size up a notch and makes things a little bit larger. Here's the good news. These lights are actually quite small. Let me clear the field a little bit here and put the E07X against a couple models you might be familiar with. An Olight Warrior 3S and also an AceBeam E70. Now the reason why I chose these 3 is because they're all 21700 batteries. So you can see that lengthwise, top to bottom, that the E07X is the smallest of the 3. Now, thickness-wise, the Warrior's got the other 2 beat, but I mean, it's hardly a fair comparison with 7 emitters over here. So let me throw the X1S in here, and the X1S is still bigger, I should say in diameter at least, but it's much smaller this way. So, I mean, you know, everyone's got their own thing about what they want to EDC, like whether they want a thin light in their pocket and they don't mind the depth, or whether they want something with less depth because their pockets aren't quite as long. So that's just kind of a judgment call. But I do want to point out that the diameter on this TIR comes with a bonus. This light has more candela on the same emitter than the Warrior 3S. So large optics always produce more candela. All right, let's take a look at Ergonomics. These are wonderfully crafted lights. They have this chunky knurling on the side, but it is not sharp to my fingers. So it's going to give you a very positive handhold here. The captive clip is removable, so you can take this cap off and take the clip off if you want, or put it back on. And if you do take it off, the fact that it's captive and it's got this attachment under the cap means there will be no screw holes left if you choose to remove it. It also has a really great switch right here, which is illuminated, so you can't really see it on my studio lights, but there's a little dim blue light in there, and that blue light is controlled by Enduro, the UI, so you can actually make it brighter if that's what you want. However, the button is much improved than older models. I'll get that later in the review. And then on the back side, there is a flappy doodle with a charge port, so you can charge right in the light. This is a great kind of all-in-one light. It's got everything you kind of need. And I want to point out that the anodization is just gorgeous. This is the blue, and it's really gorgeous. And then we've got, let's see here. Here's the black. Deep red. Look at the punch on that. It's so saturated. And then we've got a couple of whites. He's got different names for it. This one is called, let me look it up. This is called Fossil Gray. And then this one is called Dark White. So there is a white that is like, it would be over here. It would be even whiter than the three of these. Now, when you go for a micro arc oxidation, a Mule light, that's what these are called. That's how you get this white kind of look. They look great when you first receive them, but they tend to pick up dirt and gunk really fast. So I think going with a dark white or even a fossil gray is a good move, because the actual whites, I have a couple Manker lights that have the micro arc oxidation as well as some Hank lights, and they really did pick up gook really fast. So if you want more of a white, I'd go with this one. I wouldn't go with the real white, and then this is the fossil gray. Let me finish up the ergonomics by saying that I really love what Jack has done here with the bezel. This is a stainless steel bezel on the aluminum light, so it's got more resilience than if it was aluminum. And notice that it's got this black glossy coating, and it can unscrew. So this is a very moddable light. Sometimes there's options for a magnet. Now, all the ones I have don't have a magnet, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put on screen here the NOV-Mu. This is the one that I'm reviewing today, but I have an older NOV-Mu, and if you take a look here, you can see that this one is considerably longer, and that's because this one has the magnet tail cap. So note that if you want a magnet, it's going to add a little length to the light. Let's talk about battery and charging. So this light uses a standard off-the-shelf 21700. The battery was included, and it's an excellent 5000 milliamp hour high drain cell. One of the great things about these lights is they don't require proprietary batteries, and they include charging on the side. Let's take a close look at this charge port, which is excellent because you get your finger under there and it kind of lifts up, but you notice that when I let go, it closes automatically because it has a magnet in the flappy doodle. So it's USB-C on the inside, which is perfect for the fact that we're all going USB-C these days. Also can mean a higher charge rate than, you know, micro USB is capable of. But notice that, again, this flappy doodle is great because you just let go and it's also waterproof, so don't worry about that. All of these lights I'm showing here today run on the user interface called Enduro 2. It's an open source user interface, which is really popular with enthusiasts because it's quite capable. So I'm not going to go over the interface here in this video because if you know Enduro 2, you know that it is very complicated. But suffice to say that it is set up to do anything you'd like. If you want to limit how high you can go, you can set ceilings. If you want to do special modes, special blinky modes, you can go click, click, hold. And I just entered a special mode right now. Let's see which mode I'm in. I'm in candle mode. Can you see that it's flickering? And then when I'm in these blinkies, I can double click to go through them, and you'll see there is a bike flasher. There is a strobe. Oh, I turned it off, but there's so much more. There's lightning mode, there's so much. Also, there's things like you can click a few, you know, these are all series of clicks that you have to learn, but you can click and set a sleep timer. So, and that's awesome too, because you can set it in 5-minute increments. So you can set it for like, 50 minutes, 2 hours, 5 minutes, whatever you like. Really, really cool features, infinitely configurable. The only downside, and I want to point this out if you're not used to Enduro, is it is daunting to pick up at first. There's many series of clicks, and it's kind of like a Morse code thing. So There's great information online, and if you think you're up to the challenge, then I think you are. But I just kind of make that kind of caveat there because I think that Enduro 2 is not a great interface to give as a gift to non-flashlight enthusiasts. It's just too confusing. That's kind of the endless debate on the forums about whether you can effectively lock newbies out of, certain areas of Enduro and give it to, Granny who doesn't know anything. I'm in the camp of that's nearly impossible and that Granny will end up locking herself out of the light. All right, so I did a bunch of Lumen and Tint testing on my Sphere over here and with the Sekonic. And since I've got so many models in front of me, I just did all offline and made a spread chart for you. So let's take a look at that right now. Here's the spreadsheet of what I found out. Now, in each case here, I've got written what model it is, what the emitters were, and I've got the lumens value at 0 seconds. Then I've got the lumens 30 seconds in. If there's a little asterisk next to the lumens at 30 seconds, that means that I hit the default temperature limit in Enduro and it stepped down. So that means that I had to returbo to ignore that. It's not a big deal. I could have configured Enduro to run hotter. I wanted to run it stock. I wanted to just pretend this is light you got out of the box. Now, one of the things I want to point out is take a look on the right of the chart. Look at the delta UV low and high. Nothing is green. They are all neutral to massively rosy. So this, again, is a great example of the fact that Jack really picks the best color and tints for the flashlights he's selling. So I really admire that. You can't go wrong with any of the lights he's selling currently. Let's take a look at some of the changes that have been made from the previous models. This is one of the older NOV-Mu. These are one of the V1s, if you will, and this is the V2. So there's three big things that I noticed. One is that inside the head, and this is just basically for modders, you'll notice that in the older version, there was a retaining ring. You can see it right there for the driver. And in the newer version, there isn't. What does that mean? Probably that this one is glued in with some CA. So you're going to have to use some BSI, Bob Smith Industries, cyanoacrylate dissolver, debonder, if you want to remove the driver. I don't know why you would, because, I mean, it's like this light has great emitters. Secondly, notice that the new lights have much better flaps. I showed that earlier, but I want to point out that the flap we got here looks like that. It's really nice. And the flap on the other model right here, you can see it's one of the old style flappy doodles with the rubber and the kind of, you pick at it and then you got to push it back down. Not amazing, not cool. This is much better. And lastly, I find the new button on the left here much better than the old button. The old button was mushy. You can see there's like no click to it at all, whereas this one has a nice kind of like that. And, it makes a big difference when you're entering, the Enduro cheat codes, as I call them, where you're hitting, 4H or 5 click, it's just hard to hit that when it's mushy. This is a much better button. Also, I like the fact that it's not raised up like it used to be. This used to protrude and now it's nice and flat. If you want the best runtime tint output and advanced UI in the market, there's no better lineup than the new Fireflies flashlights. With 3 optic options, there just really is the perfect flashlight for you. The Floody, yet still very throwy, E07X. This is a great flashlight, which is the floodiest of these options, but I hesitate to call it a flutter. It is definitely a throwy floody light. It puts out so much light and long distance too. However, if you want something with max candela, that's when I'd go to the X1S. This one has a large TIR optic and a single emitter for max candela. It really, really throws well. And in fact, I found that threw better than the Warrior 3S BioLite. And I make that comparison because they are the same XHP 50.3 emitter. And lastly, we have the optic-less NOV-Mu, which is a Mule light. That means it has no TIR optic, no reflector, just emitters, straight out glass. This is perfect for close-up work in the house or photography. It does not create a hot spot or corona the way that optics would. So if you've ever tried to take photographs while using a flashlight, it's just a struggle to get the lighting to look nice. But this is the ticket. All right, we're outside, and I want to point out that this close tree right here is 20 meters. Not this tree, but the one next to it. This is 55 meters, and the row of palm trees in the back is 150 meters. We're going to start out with the E07X Cannons. Let's start with the two that are more similar. The one in red here, if you recall, is the Fireflies FFL 351A. And it's the, I believe it's the 3750 version and very rosy, but the box was labeled 4000, so it could be that one as well, 4000 very rosy. Then we got here the de-domed 5000 Nichia 519A. So this is a 5000K de-domed, so it's going to be running a little under 4000. So these two are very similar tint-wise and CCT-wise. And then here we have one with the XPL High 4000K, and this is going to be the brightest one. And it's going to be more neutral. These are going to be really rosy, and this will be more neutral. So let's take a look. We'll go straight to the rosy one here. So let me go ahead and go to high ramp on this nearby tree. And then that's the 55 meter tree right there. And you can see I am making the background on high. Now double click, and now we're on turbo. So close tree right there, 55 meters and 150 meters. Now let's take a look at the de-domed 5000K Nichia. We'll go to turbo. And you can see it's very similar, very similar. Let's do them side by side, okay? So we're gonna turn them on and turbo. So Nichia. Okay, and here is the Fireflies. Okay, let's do that again. All right, here we go. They're very similar, guys. I guess it just depends. I mean, I love them both so much. This is the Nichia right here, the Nichia de-domed. Okay, and here's the Fireflies. I mean, I cannot tell the difference. I mean, I can tell the difference when I white wall hunt. This one's rosier, and also the specs are a little different. Now let's take a look at the Cree XPL High versus the Fireflies emitter. This one, I believe, has a rosier, better look to it. But this one, it's undeniable how much brighter it is. So let's take a look. We'll go hit high on the Fireflies. There's turbo. Okay, and we're just gonna take a look at this tree line in the back. Let's do that. Now let's look at the XPL. See how much brighter it is? It's considerably brighter. So here's the 20 meter tree, here's the 55 meter tree, and there it is in the back. Let me do these side by side. So let's go ahead and turn them both on, and then turbo, turbo. Okay, so this is the Fireflies in the back, and here is the XPL High. Fireflies, XPL High. Now let's take a look at the X1S. This is the one with the large TIR optic and the XHP 50 in it. And this thing is a beast. So let's double click. So that is turbo. Look at how it just destroys that tree there. And then you can see it makes it to the end of the street, no problem. Now let's take a look at the NOV-Mu Mule, which this is really floody. So it's gonna have, that's straight to turbo. Let me double check. Yep, that was turbo. So let's go straight to turbo, and you can see that it just has no penetration, but everything is lit up. So for example, this tree is as bright as everything over here, but it just doesn't make it back to the end of the street at all. I'm gonna take this opportunity to show you the beam profile in the drone. Let's go straight to the drone. Here is the E07X, and I'll just come from right in front of me to the end of the street. There's the beam profile. Now let's do the X1S. Go to turbo. There you go. Now let's do the NOV-Mu, which I'm raising it, lowering it. It probably looks almost no different at all. Okay, my conclusion. I'm going to say something that might ruffle a few feathers here, but the new Fireflies emitters used in his lights are the bomb. And I think they put Fireflies flashlight on top over the current offerings by Hank Wang at internationaloutdoor.com. Hank still offers a myriad of BTO options, but honestly, Jacket Fireflies has concocted all the best configurations on the website, so you don't really need to BTO. All you gotta do is pick your CCT and host color. These are a no-brainer for me and easily the best enthusiast 21700 flashlights on the market at the time of this publication. Thank you for spending time with me today, and if you haven't, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to my channel. Be sure to tell me in the comments section which Fireflies flashlight you like the most. For my money, the NOV-Mu V2 is the best Mule on the market, bar none, and that includes high-end customs. Again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next review.